I want you to picture a scenario. It's a Friday night.
Okay.
You've had a long week. You're out with friends. Maybe you've got a drink in hand and, the vibe is good.
I'm with you.
And then someone, let's call him Dave, joins the table. Dave just got back from a 3-week tour of Europe.
Oh, I know Dave. We all know Dave.
We all know Dave. And everyone is polite, right? Yeah. The social contract kicks in. So someone asks, hey, Dave, how was the trip?
And you know exactly what's coming next. You can just feel the air leave the room.
We all do. The monologue. The slideshow in verbal form. First, we went to the bakery and the bread was good. Then we went to the museum, which was big.
Then we missed the train, which was bad.
Then we walked to the hotel and on and on. And you're sitting there nodding, smiling, doing the active listening face. But internally.
Internally, you were screaming.
You were looking for an exit sign. You were praying for a fire alarm. Anything to stop the chronological recitation of events.
It's a trap. It is a genuine social trap. And the tragedy is, Dave thinks he's doing a good job. He thinks he's informing you. He thinks he's entertaining you.
But here's the question that haunts me, and it's the reason we're here today. Why is it that some people can make a trip to the local grocery store to buy milk sound like an epic odyssey where you are hanging on every word?
Yeah.
While others, like poor Dave, can make a trip to Paris sound like reading a phone book.
It's a painful experience, but it's a very common one. And honestly, it points to a fundamental misunderstanding about how communication works.
How so?
We tend to think that the content of the experience, the Eiffel Tower, the Colosseum, the exotic food, carries the weight of the story. We think the where does all the heavy lifting.
Right, because the logic is, I went to an interesting place, therefore anything I say about it must be interesting. It's the osmosis theory of storytelling.
Exactly. But that is completely false. The value isn't in the where, it's in the how. And that is what we're digging into today.
This is a deep dive into the mechanics of high-level storytelling. We are not talking about travel tips.
No.
We aren't discussing packing lists or flight hacks. We are looking at how to take a flat recitation of events and turn it into a narrative that actually hooks human beings.
And to do this, we are looking at a really fascinating set of materials from the Advanced Learner Studio.
Now, you might hear Learner Studio and think, wait, is this an English lesson?
And... well, on one level, yes.
Technically, yes. The source material is designed for high-level language learners. But as we went through this, I realized this is actually a masterclass in psychology.
It really is. It bridges the gap between a beginner communicator, someone who just knows the words to describe an object, and a master storyteller who understands nuance, irony, and impact.
It's the difference between playing scales on a piano and playing jazz.
That's a great way to put it. One is technically correct. The other one has soul.
The material focuses on what they call C2 level strategies. That's the highest level of fluency. But the lessons here aren't just about vocabulary lists. They break down how to handle disappointment without sounding like a brat.
A huge one.
How to describe terrible food without getting slapped. And most importantly, how to answer the question, so what?
That so what factor is huge. It's the missing ingredient in, I would say, 90% of the stories we hear. It's the reason stories just fall flat.
I'm honestly excited about this because if I'm being real, I feel like I'm guilty of the Dave monologue more often than I'd like to admit.
Oh, we all are.
I get excited,
Right.
I want to share the details and I just lose the room. I see the eyes glaze over.
We all do it. It's natural to want to share everything. It's like a data dump. But as the source material points out, how we describe the world shapes how others see us.
Oof, that's a heavy one.
It is. If you describe things flatly, you appear flat. If you describe things with nuance and insight, you appear sophisticated. It's about personal branding as much as it is about storytelling.
So our mission today is to equip you, the listener, with these specific frameworks. We're going to learn the art of the philosophical anchor, the diplomacy of the palate, and how to weaponize disappointment.
It's essentially a study in emotional intelligence. It's about reading the room and, more importantly, reading the experience itself.
I love that. Okay, let's unpack the first big hurdle. And this is a big one. It's the elephant in the room whenever we talk about travel. Disappointment.
This is a fascinating place to start because it's so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
When we travel, there is this immense pressure, both internal and external, for everything to be perfect.
Absolutely. You spent the money, you took time off work, you told everyone on Instagram you were going to have the time of your life.
Yes, you've built this narrative of the perfect trip before you even left the house.
The stakes are incredibly high. So when you get there and it's raining, or the hotel is loud, or the famous monument is covered in scaffolding, You feel paralyzed. You feel like you can't say anything negative because it ruins the narrative.
Right. You don't want to be the complaining tourist. You don't want to sound ungrateful. There's a social stigma against the person who goes to Rome and complains about the traffic.
It feels petty. It feels privileged in the wrong way.
So the beginner storyteller just ignores the bad stuff. They filter it out. They say it was nice, it was beautiful. End of story.
Which is safe, but it's also boring. It's vanilla.
It's incredibly boring because it's not true. Humans are lie detectors. We know when someone is sanitizing their experience.
Oh, or they go the other way.
Or they go the other way, and they lack that social awareness, so they just complain. Paris was dirty. The subway smelled.
And that's just flat negativity. It pushes the listener away because nobody likes a whine.
It becomes an energy drain. You're just dumping your bad mood on the table for everyone else to deal with.
So what does the masterclass say we should do instead? Because they use a specific example of Paris in the source material, which is, it's the classic high expectations city.
The city of lights, love, and movies. The ultimate setup for disappointment. They introduce something called the expectation versus reality framework. Well, this is the key to handling disappointment. It's not about complaining. It's about contrast.
Contrast. Okay, so how does that work in practice? How do I tell you Paris was dirty without sounding like I hate Paris?
Let's look at the example from the text. A beginner says, Paris was dirty. Short, judgmental, ends the conversation.
It's a dead end.
A total dead end. But the advanced speaker leans into the disappointment and uses it to paint a much richer picture. The example given is, I arrived expecting the romantic movie version.
Okay, so you're setting the stage. You're giving us the before.
Precisely. You establish the expectation, then comes the contrast. What I found was a gritty, living city.
Gritty. That's a great word. It has texture to it. It sounds like something you can feel under your fingernails.
It does. It acknowledges the dirt, but gritty implies character. Dirty just implies filth. Gritty implies resilience, history, authenticity.
A city that works for a living.
Yes. And look at what they do next. They don't just stop at gritty. They explain the juxtaposition. They say, the juxtaposition of the pristine museums and the graffiti-covered metro stations was jarring.
Juxtaposition and jarring? Those are heavy-hitting words. That's SAT vocabulary.
They are, but they serve a very specific function. Notice the shift in tone. They aren't saying Paris is bad. They are saying the difference between their dream and the reality was striking.
So it's not a value judgment?
Not at all. The source material makes a really important distinction here. You aren't being rude. You are being observant. You're turning a negative emotion into an intellectual analysis.
That is such a subtle but powerful shift. You're not whining about the graffiti. You're analyzing the contrast between the art inside the Louvre and the art on the subway walls.
You've just turned yourself from a victim of the trip into an observer of the culture.
From a tourist into a traveler.
Exactly. You've removed your ego from the equation. It's not about my trip was ruined. It's about this city is a study in contrasts. And the source uses a phrase I know you love, warts and all.
I do love that phrase, warts and all. It sounds so British or just old school, but it works. It evokes Oliver Cromwell, doesn't it? Paint me as I am, warts and all.
It works because it signals authenticity. The source material emphasizes that a story that acknowledges the grit, the warts, feels real. We live in an era of filtered photos and curated feeds.
We are starving for reality.
Deeply. If you tell me everything was perfect, I immediately think you're reading me a brochure. If you tell me the metro station was covered in graffiti, but the museum was pristine, I believe you. I'm there with you.
It grounds the story. It makes the good parts shine brighter because you've acknowledged the bad parts. It's like shading in a drawing. You need the darks to see the lights. If everything is bright, nothing is visible.
That's the expectation versus reality framework in a nutshell. You set up the movie version, the expectation, and then you shatter it with the reality.
But you do it with descriptive analytical language, not just emotional complaining.
And by doing that, you turn the listener into a co-investigator. You're asking them to look at this strange contrast with you, to puzzle it out alongside you.
It makes you sound so much smarter, too. Let's be honest.
Well, yeah.
Paris was dirty. It sounds like a child who dropped their ice cream. The juxtaposition was jarring. It sounds like a cultural critic writing for The New Yorker.
Precisely. It signals a level of maturity in your observation. You are engaging with the place as it is, not just as you wanted it to be. You're accepting the complexity of the world.
And isn't that what we want from a traveler? We want them to bring back the truth, not a fairy tale.
Ideally, yes. We want the on-the-ground report. the real texture of a place.
Okay, so that handles the atmosphere and the sights. That's how we deal with the environment. But the source material moves on to something even more dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
A minefield, really. A place where relationships go to die.
Food.
Food. Specifically bad food. Or, let's say, challenging food.
This is such a high-stakes scenario.
Yeah.
And it's not just about storytelling after the fact. This is about social survival in the moment.
In the moment, yes. Imagine you are at a dinner party or you're visiting a host country and you are served a local delicacy. The host is watching you.
Their grandmother made this. It's a family recipe passed down for generations. They are proud of this dish.
And to you, it tastes awful, but you absolutely cannot say that.
No, you can't. This tastes like garbage is a great way to lose friends and alienate people. You burn that bridge instantly. You insult their history, their taste, their effort, everything.
So the source material brings up the perfect example, the durian case study.
Oh, durian, the king of fruits. Or the most controversial fruit, anyway.
I've actually smelt this. For those listening who don't know, it's a fruit native to Southeast Asia, and it is famous or infamous. It's forbidden on public transit in some countries, right?
It is. You can get fined for bringing it onto the subway in Singapore. That's how strong the smell is.
So what does the source say? How do they describe it?
The source describes the reality of the experience quite vividly. It smells like old gym socks.
Old gym socks. That is a visceral image. You can taste that description. It's sweaty, it's musky.
It is. And the texture is described as creamy, almost like custard. So you have this creamy, sweet texture paired with the smell of dirty laundry.
It is a cognitive dissonance on a plate.
It really is. Now, a beginner or a tactless person says, that's disgusting. It smells like socks.
Immediate social death. The room goes silent. You've become that guy.
Right. You've insulted the culture, the host, and the food. You are the ugly tourist.
Okay.
So the masterclass introduces the strategy of complexity and intensity.
Complexity and intensity. Break that down for us. This sounds like a way to dodge the bullet, but also a way to be honest.
It's a shift from a binary scale, good versus bad, yum versus yuck, to a spectrum of complexity.
Yeah.
You stop talking about whether you liked it and you start talking about the characteristics of the food.
So you become a food critic, not a food judge.
That's a perfect way to phrase it. It's not about your preference, it's about the food's profile.
Okay. So we're ditching yuck and yum. Those are kindergarten words. What words are we using instead?
The source suggests a few key diplomatic terms.
Okay.
Acquired taste, potent, and challenging.
Let's untack potent. That's a polite way of saying it smells strong enough to knock a horse over.
Exactly. But it's respectful. Potent implies strength and power, not necessarily badness. Medicine is potent. Spices are potent. It suggests the item has a strong character.
Right. It's not weak or bland. It has personality.
And acquired taste. That's a classic. It's been saving dinner parties for centuries.
It has.
Acquired taste implies that the value is there, but maybe you haven't learned to appreciate it yet. It's very humble, actually.
It puts the fault, if there is one, on the eater, not the food. I haven't acquired the taste yet. It suggests a journey you are still on.
Which is the crucial psychological insight here. Let's look at the master version of the durian story provided in the text.
Okay, let's role play this. I'm the host, watching you expectantly. So, what do you think of our national treasure?
Instead of the gym sock comment, the advanced speaker says, wow, the texture was incredibly creamy, almost like custard, but the aroma was pungent.
Pungent, good word. It's scientific. It's descriptive without being inherently insulting. It's a word from a lab, not from a complaint box.
It's neutral. It just means strong. And then the closer, the real masterpiece. It challenged my palate.
It challenged my palate. I love that. It sounds so fancy. It sounds like something a judge on a cooking show would say right before eliminating someone, but in a really nice way.
It's genius. Think about what that phrase does. It admits difficulty. You aren't lying and saying it was delicious, because people can tell when you're lying. Your face will give it away.
Oh, absolutely. My face is an open book.
But you are acknowledging that it was difficult for you. It challenged my palate. It frames the experience as a test that you underwent.
It makes the speaker sound adventurous, like, I am a culinary explorer and this mountain was steep, but I climbed it. You're not a picky eater, you're a brave one.
Exactly. You come off as sophisticated rather than picky. A picky eater says, I don't like this. A sophisticated eater says, this flavor profile is very intense. It's a challenge.
It changes the narrative from I am rejecting this to I am engaging with this.
A total reframe. And I think this applies to so much more than just food.
Definitely. It's about how we encounter anything new or strange. Do we reject it or do we analyze the intensity of it?
Right. If you hear experimental jazz for the first time, don't say it's noise.
Say it challenges my ear.
Yes. Or you see a piece of abstract art you don't understand. It challenges my sense of form.
It's the diplomacy of the palate, but really it's the diplomacy of open-mindedness. You are validating the existence of the thing while admitting your own struggle with it.
It preserves the dignity of the host culture or the artist or the chef while maintaining your own honesty.
That is a delicate balance, but those specific words, acquired taste, potent, challenging, really do the heavy lifting there.
They're a toolkit.
It gives you a toolkit so you don't panic in the moment, you don't have to lie, and you don't have to be rude, you just have to be complex.
They're tools in your belt.
Yeah.
When you're stuck in a situation where you can't be negative, but you need to be honest, you reach for complexity. You elevate the conversation.
Okay, so we've navigated the dirty streets of Paris with our expectation versus reality framework. We've survived the durian tasting with our diplomacy of the palate. We are surviving the trip.
So far, so good.
But now we get to the big one. The source material calls this the holy grail of storytelling.
The so what factor.
The so what factor. This is where most stories die, isn't it? This is the graveyard of conversation. This is where Dave lives.
It is. This is the difference between an anecdote and a story. You can list events. I saw the fountain, I ate the food, missed the train. But if you don't stick the landing, the listener's left thinking, okay. And why are you telling me this?
Is there a point?
Is there a point?
I feel like I do this all the time. I get to the end of a story and just kind of stop. And then there's that awkward silence where everyone waits for the punchline that isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually just say, so, yeah, it was fun. And then I awkwardly drink my water.
That's because you haven't provided the philosophical anchor.
The philosophical anchor? That sounds heavy. That sounds like I need a degree in philosophy. Do I need to quote Nietzsche to tell a travel story?
Not at all. It sounds heavy, but it's actually quite simple. Every good story must connect to a universal truth.
Okay.
It needs to transcend the specific details of your trip and touch on something human that the listener can relate to.
So it's not just about me. It's about us.
Exactly. If the story stays about you, it's narcissism. If it connects to a universal theme, it's art.
Wow.
The source material suggests asking yourself some key questions before you tell the story. Did this experience change how I see the world? Did it make me feel insignificant? Did it shatter a stereotype?
Shatter a stereotype. That's a strong one. We love stories about broken expectations. That connects back to the Paris example, too.
It does. It's a recurring theme. And that leads us to the Amsterdam case study from the masterclass. This is a perfect example of finding the anchor.
Right. So let's look at the setup. The preconception, the stereotype, is that Amsterdam is a party city.
That's what everyone thinks.
Coffee shops, red light district, stag parties, wild nights. That's the brand. That's the postcard.
That's the cultural narrative.
Yeah.
But the reality of the traveler's experience in this example was different. They spent hours sitting by quiet canals, watching the water, feeling peaceful.
They found silence in the middle of the noise.
Precisely.
So you have a mismatch. You expected a party. You found peace. Now, a beginner might just say, yeah, it was actually really quiet. I liked it.
Which, again, is fine. It's accurate. But it's not a story. It has no anchor.
The so what is missing.
Completely.
Yeah.
The listener thinks, okay, so you sat by a canal. Good for you. Why do I care?
So how does the advanced speaker anchor this? How do they make me care about their quiet afternoon?
They frame it around the concept of dismantling stereotypes. The draft conclusion in the source is beautiful. It goes, I went looking for a party, but I found peace.
Okay, that's the contrast again?
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's the anchor. It completely dismantled my stereotypes. A place is never just one thing. It's layers upon layers.
Layers upon layers. That gives me goosebumps a little bit. It sounds like something from a novel.
It's a mic drop moment.
It really is. Because suddenly we aren't talking about Amsterdam anymore. We aren't talking about a specific city in the Netherlands.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about the complexity of the world. A place is never just one thing. That's a universal truth. That applies to your hometown, your spouse, your job.
Exactly. The listener can nod along to that. They might never have been to Amsterdam, but they know what it feels like to misjudge a person or a place.
They know what it feels like to find depth where they expected shallowness.
By anchoring the story in that realization that the world is more complex than our stereotypes, you've given the listener a gift. You've given them a nugget of wisdom they can take away.
That's the so what. The so what is, don't judge a book by its cover, or peace can be found in unexpected places.
Yes. The story becomes a vehicle for the insight. The events, the canals, the quiet are just the evidence that supports the philosophical claim.
You are making an argument about life, using your trip as the data.
And that is so crucial. I think a lot of us feel like we have to be funny to tell a good story. We think we need to be stand-up comedians.
Yes, that's a lot of pressure.
But this suggests you don't have to be a comedian. You just have to be thoughtful. Insight is just as engaging as humor. Maybe more so.
How do you mean?
Humor is great, but insight lingers. If you can make someone think, I never looked at it that way, you have them hooked. You create a bond. You're sharing a discovery.
Let's look at that phrase, dismantled my stereotypes again. That's such active language.
It is. It's not I changed my mind. It dismantled my stereotypes. Dismantled is a mechanical word. It implies taking apart a machine or a structure.
Like you had to get out your tools.
Exactly. It implies a structural change in how you view the world. That's dramatic. That's storytelling. It says, I came back a different person than I left.
And layers upon layers. It's so visual. It suggests depth. It suggests archaeology. It suggests that the first impression is never the whole truth.
It brings the story to a satisfying close.
Yeah.
It feels complete. You don't need to say the end. You deliver that line, you pause, and everyone knows the story's over because the lesson has been delivered.
I love that. So we've got these three major components now. Handling disappointment with contrast, turning the negative into analysis, handling food with diplomatic complexity, the challenges my palate approach,
Right.
and anchoring the whole thing with a philosophical realization, though, so what?
But the source material doesn't stop there. They wrap up the masterclass with a synthesis, a rapid-fire review that puts all of this into a bigger 4-part framework. They call it the 4 pillars of storytelling.
Right. It's like a checklist to run through before you open your mouth at a party. Do I have these 4 things? Let's walk through these pillars because this is really the toolkit we can take home. Pillar 1, sensory audit.
This goes back to the basics of immersion. The rule is, don't just use sight. Beginners describe what they saw. Masters describe what they smelled, heard, and felt.
Our brains are wired for sensory input.
Completely. We saw this with the Paris example. It wasn't just graffiti, which is sight. It was the gritty feeling. It was the living city, which implies sound and movement.
And with the durian, the creamy texture, the pungent aroma.
Grounding the listener in the physical senses makes the story 3-dimensional. If you only give me visuals, I'm watching a screen. If you give me smells and textures, I'm in the room. You trigger the listener's mirror neurons. They physically feel what you felt.
It's the difference between the soup was hot and the steam from the soup fogged up my glasses.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
The second one puts me in the scene. I feel the warmth. I feel the inconvenience. I'm there.
Okay, pillar 2. Mishaps are gold.
This connects directly to our disappointment discussion. Perfection is boring. Chaos is where the story lives.
That's so true.
We are hardwired to pay attention to problems. It's a survival instinct. When things go wrong, we lean in.
I think we try to hide our mishaps because we're embarrassed. Oh, I got lost. I ordered the wrong thing. I tripped. We want to look cool. We want to be the hero who never stumbles.
But the source emphasizes embracing the chaos with humor. Those moments of friction are the plot twists. If everything goes according to plan, there is no plot. It's just a schedule.
True. I went to the airport, caught my plane, and landed on time is not a story. That's a logistics report.
Boring.
I went to the airport, realized I left my passport at home, and had to race back through rush hour traffic.
That's a story. That's adrenaline. Exactly.
Yeah.
Embrace the mishap. Use it. It humanizes you. Vulnerability is charismatic. People connect with struggle much more than they connect with success.
That's a good life lesson in general. Okay, pillar 3, kill cliches.
This is all about vocabulary choice. The source gives some vivid examples of metaphors. Instead of saying mountains were beautiful.
Which is the laziest descriptor. What does beautiful even mean? It's completely subjective.
It means nothing. They suggest jagged teeth.
Jagged teeth. That's evocative. It implies danger. It implies sharpness. It implies that the mountain might bite you.
Or a green blanket for a landscape. Metaphors replace lazy adjectives. They force you, the storyteller, to think about what you actually mean. What kind of beautiful was it?
It also forces the listener to visualize. If I say beautiful, you picture whatever you think is beautiful. If I say jagged teeth, we are both picturing the same sharp, dangerous peaks.
We are synchronized.
It creates a shared image.
That's connection. It forces the listener to do a little bit of work to construct the image. which keeps them engaged. They become an active participant, not a passive receiver.
And finally, pillar 4, which we just covered in depth, the so what.
Anchoring the story in realization. Without this, the other 3 pillars are just decoration. You can have great sensory details, funny mishaps, and cool metaphors, but if you don't have the anchor, you're just rambling beautifully.
Rambling beautifully. I feel called out. That is exactly what I do. I paint a pretty picture and then just walk away.
We've all been there, but the anchor gives it purpose. It answers the silent question in the listener's mind. Why did you steal my time to tell me this?
It repays the listener for their attention.
Yes, with a little piece of insight.
So if we combine all these sensory audit, mishaps are gold, killing cliches, and the anchor, what is the result? Why did we do all this work?
The source puts it perfectly. You move from just practicing a language, or in our case, just chatting, to being the most interesting person at the dinner table.
That's a bold claim, but I can see it. It's magnetic. When someone speaks this way, you lean in, you put down your phone.
You do. Because they aren't just broadcasting information. They are curating an experience for you. They're inviting you into their perception of the world.
They're trusting you with their insight.
That's it. It changes the dynamic completely. It transforms a monologue into a connection.
You know, as we're talking about this, I'm realizing that while the source material is about travel storytelling, these techniques aren't limited to travel at all.
Not at all. That's the beauty of it.
Think about a business meeting. You're explaining a project that went wrong.
Okay.
You could just say, it failed, we lost money.
Which inspires zero confidence.
Exactly. Or you could use the expectation versus reality framework. We expected the market to zig, but the reality was it zagged. The juxtaposition highlighted a flaw in our initial strategy, which we've now corrected.
That's brilliant. Suddenly, you aren't the guy who failed. You're the guy who analyzed the market forces. You're the strategic thinker.
You're observing the warts and all of the business landscape.
Or think about dating, describing a past relationship, or a quirky hobby.
Oof. Another minefield.
A huge one.
Yeah.
But you can use this. It's an acquired taste. It challenged my perspective. I expected a fairy tale, but what I found was a really complex partnership that taught me a lot.
That's so much better than, yeah, my ex was crazy.
So much better. It shows maturity, self-awareness. It applies to daily life, even the how was your day question.
Instead of fine.
Instead of the soul-crushing fine, you can say, well, I expected a quiet Tuesday, but I found chaos. It really dismantled my stereotype that Tuesdays are boring.
You're finding the philosophical anchor in a trip to the office.
Exactly. It elevates the mundane. It treats your own life with respect. It says, my experiences are worth analyzing and articulating. It makes you the protagonist of your own life, not just a bystander.
And I think that's the core message here. The goal isn't just to sound smart or to entertain people.
No. The goal is connection. We tell stories to bridge the gap between me and you.
To make someone feel what we felt.
By sharing the warts and all, by navigating the complex flavors, and by showing the layers upon layers, we are inviting the listener into the truth of our experience. Not just the surface, but the truth.
And that is so much more satisfying than a slideshow of the Eiffel Tower.
Infinitely. The slideshow shows us where you were. The story shows us who you are.
So here is our challenge to you, the listener. We want to leave you with a provocative question derived from that so what section. We want you to try this out.
Think about the last trip you took, or even just a significant event in your life recently. A new job, a move, a relationship change.
Don't think about the itinerary. Don't think about the dates or the prices. Forget the what happened.
If you had to describe it, not by what you did, no list of events, but by how it dismantled a stereotype you held, what would that story be?
Well, that's good. Don't tell us where you went. Tell us what illusion was shattered, what idea broke.
Exactly. What did you think was true about the world, or a place, or even yourself, that this experience proved was false? Find the contrast. Find the anchor.
That is where the gold is.
That's the story.
That is a tough one, but I think if you can answer that, you've got a story worth telling, and you'll definitely be the most interesting person at the dinner table.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the art of the travel story. We hope you're walking away with some new tools for your next dinner party.
Keep looking for the nuance and the layers.
See you next time.